Let's go. We back, y'all. We back. The Blackout Podcast. What's going on? My name's ODM, your host. Lighter shade of brown. REG fam. All the above. The Blackout Podcast. Your mama's favorite DJ. Your daddy's favorite rapper from back in the day. Let's get it cracking. And over here, we got my boy, resident DJ Danny Boy in the mix.
Yo, what up, y'all? Yeah, Blackout Podcast. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow us. You already know, man. It's going to be cracking. The Blackout. We got a special guest today, though. ODM, who it is?
Y'all already know, man. So this, I've been waiting for some time now. I got to be 100 with you guys. You know what I mean? This is a series of episodes, lighter shade of brown. You know, hey, shout out to the fans first and foremost. Thank you guys for coming. If you know of a lighter shade, just early 90s hip-hop fan, tag them right now. You know what I'm saying? Share this vlog and let them know, you know what I'm saying, we're about to cook things up, because I have the man sitting with me today who, how do I put it, who is the creator, the founder, and just all the above, man, X, Y, and Z. If it wasn't for him, not going to say there wouldn't be no ODM. There might be a little R floating around there. You know what I'm saying? But he was responsible for the name ODM, helped coming up with that. Myself birthed me that. And he also birthed the group's name and everything else. Lighter shade of brown. Ladies and gentlemen, the homie, my brother, Cliff Ritchie Jr. What's up, man?
What's up? Applause.
I didn't know all that way to introduce you, man, other than the facts. That was like getting to the meat, bro. So I want to welcome you here to the podcast. And
glad to be here.
I think it's been like a good maybe 6 years since we saw each other last at the, I think it was at a concert me and Bobby did up in L.A.,
yes,
right?
Up in L.A. It's been about six. Actually, you know what? It's longer than that. I want to say 10.
10 years?
It's been 10 years.
Prior to that, or what do you mean?
No, it's been 10 years.
Since we did that show? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, damn, time keeps on slipping.
Yes, it does.
Well, I'm glad you're here today, bro. You know, you're looking good. You're in good health. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you've always had that. I don't know what happened to the waves, though, man. You got to let go of the waves.
Got to keep them maintained, so it's easier for the for an old man to do. You know?
That's it. See, I had a haircut like that, bro, back in the day. Remember when I went to ball fade? And then when that shit started receding, I had to just like let it grow out, bro. Yep. You know, but you know me. I don't comb hair. I wear hats anyway, every day, all day. If you catch me on a good day, like church or something, you might catch me with the comb over side, whatever. That's at least the way my wifey likes it. But everything was cool. Drive was cool, man.
Drive was cool, and I was very excited to be here and let my truth be told.
There it is. So let's get into it. Thank you guys for coming in right now. Again, please like this video before we get into this, and smash that subscribe button too if you're on YouTube, and that way, you know, it'll help us out, and you know what I'm saying, all the caca rhythms as they call it, you know what I'm saying, will help this channel grow. So let's start. Cliff, bro, come on, man. Like I know about you from our experience, but I don't know the prior experience as far as, you know, your adolescence, whatnot. I knew you grew up in Riverside, correct?
Correct. Grew up in Riverside, was a shoe salesman, worked for Camp Shoes, and that's how I was able to finance a lot of things that I did, including working out your demo and so forth.
Yeah.
I was a concert promoter, promoted concerts at Metro.
How old were you at this time?
It was 1980, so I was what was I, 18?
So teenage, okay.
You know.
So you in the scene?
We did I had a nightclub called Excursions.
All right.
And the nightclub was where it was Walter Murray's dance studio during the week, and on the weekend I was able to do a kids teen club. There was also a club in San Bernardino, which I forgot the name of it.
So Excursion was in Riverside.
Excursion was in Riverside, the only teenage club in Riverside where blacks, whites, Latinos could come and dance. In San Bernardino, that was the hood spot, so that's where all the hardheads went. Yeah. And in Corona, the club did all of the techno and the, Boy George, all that.
Right. New wave stuff.
New wave stuff.
Yeah. What was the vibe like? You said blacks, whites, and mixed. Like everybody getting along? Like
in Riverside, everybody did get along. In San Bernardino, you had to, it was heavy gangs all around. But in San Bernardino, it was the blacks from the east side and the Latinos from the south side. And
right.
You go to that club and everybody's partitioned off.
Right.
Our club, it was just everybody having a good time.
And this was 1980.
It's 1980.
Wow.
In downtown Riverside or Riverside?
No, off of Magnolia, and what was that place called? It was like a fun factory. You get your novelties. It was a wood building.
Is it still there?
I don't know if it's still. I think it's gone.
What, by Tyler Mall, Van Buren?
before
somewhere in that area.
Yeah, somewhere in that area.
Okay.
Was, and I've always wanted to be in the music business. I was learned just by asking questions, by seeing what other people were doing, just following their lead. And I was doing my first record that I put out was an R&B record. I was working at the Warehouse, and one of the guys there sang, so I put a record out on him.
The Warehouse record store.
Yeah, the Warehouse record store.
Y'all don't know about the Warehouse record store. Come on, man. That's when they actually sold. You know. Most of our audience knows.
It just came naturally. When I was younger, I was playing records. I would always be the person playing records at the parties and so forth.
Right.
When I was cutting grass, I get my check, my cash. I go to the record store. That's where all my money went. So I had a love of music.
Right. You used to study I remember something, but you used to study the record labels, right?
Yes.
All the time.
All the time. Where they were from, manufacturing, what came out. If it was a pickup record, you could tell by how the material on the record, if it's East Coast or if it's pressed on the West Coast. So I put out my first record, it was 45. I did a second record, did okay. And
who was the artist?
Oh, I'm sorry. Wow. The first artist was Sam Hancock's.
Okay.
And he redid, I had him do a cover, one of my favorite songs, which is What Becomes of the Brokenhearted.
Sam Hancock, that sounds like a 60s artist, huh? Like, here's Sam Hancock.
Hey, I'm too young for that, bro.
Next to Donald Byrd or like Herbie Hancock. No relate. Never mind.
No.
Okay.
And my second single was a group from LA called Mainstream.
Yeah.
And it was a song called Got to Have Your Love. Both recorded here in Riverside.
Yeah.
Michael Verlin's Studio One.
Okay.
Which is over where the golf course used to be off of
Van Buren?
Van Buren.
Yeah. Still there. Yeah.
I tried to keep everything, local, as far as doing things. I was very pro home base.
Yeah.
I got my first loan from a company off a bank called Mission Bank. I was always doing, like I said, concerts, doing events, and I got caught up in this Battle of the Bands. And that's how I met Fabian and his brothers initially, because they helped do all my sound and so forth.
Yeah.
But then something was happening in LA, and it was a movie called Wild Style, and breaking was starting to just come into play and everything. So it never came to Riverside. So I booked the movie, played at the De Anza Theater. That was my go-to place, right. on Central University.
Downtown. Yeah.
And we had a rap battle. You come in and you rap. After the contest, we had the movie, and you could see the movie.
So let me stop you right there.
Okay.
So your idea, your vision was to bring whatever, this is funny because it still happens today, whatever was happening in L.A., you wanted to bring that to the Inland Empire.
Correct.
Because there was no outlet for that.
There was no outlet for that.
And you were the man to do it.
Yes.
Hell
That's
yeah,
dope, dude.
And that's still like that today.
Yeah.
Everybody always gravitates from the Inland Empire and they go to L.A. because, let's face it, that's where everything hits. They slaps first, you get your trends, you get it. But there's so much talent, and all it takes is the vision.
So what do we do next?
So no, you're telling your story about downtown. So you got into the 45s and everything, and then your goal was to put out music, obviously.
Yeah, just put out music. But the this rap thing was starting to happen, so I gravitated toward that. Had a contest and had Rodney Oliver, who went to Poly High School, and Mark Ross, who...
It's funny because he's saying the government names. Rodney Oliver is Rodney O Joe Cooley, man. One time for Rodney O. This dude right here put out, man, come on, man. You got to say, like, Cliff put out Rodney O's very first record, who you didn't know was from the Inland Empire, from Reno Valley or?
No, from
Riverside.
Yeah.
Woo, what a
he
Rodney.
went to Poly High School. And then Mark Ross, who was also going to Poly, if I remember right. He came in, they both just rapped. And I think we had maybe 20 people rapping, but those two guys were the ones that I did it by choice, by by yells and screams.
Yeah.
Rodney got a lot, you know what I mean? But Mark got
Did he come in
too.
like, yeah, boy?
No,
what's up, Cliff?
He just came. It's funny because if you hear their first recording,
Rodney.
you hear their first recording.
Yeah.
His tagline, this is R to the O to the NWA, is done on that record. Then he duplicates it. That was his tag throughout his career.
Now, what you know about that, Moons? What you know about that? R to the O to the D N E Y. Now, what's that spell? Rodney, that's right. Everlasting bass, man. That's dope. So that's what you were looking for. It sounded like you were looking for something unique out of that talent or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't know really what I was trying to do, but they got studio time. The winning price was you get studio time over at Michael Verlin's studio. You know?
Yeah.
But Mark and that's Mark Ross, who is known as Brother Marquis from the Two Light Crew.
Yeah, I was going to say, who was his nickname? Say Brother Marquis, man.
Brother Marquis.
Why you got to call out government names for it? Come on.
You know what? I've always done that, though. I've never used it.
Robert and Bobby. That's why we got you guys, man. You're the reason why we kept saying Robert and Bobby for the first 3 years, man. But anyway, we'll get into that later on.
I wanted them both to win.
Yeah.
So I talked to Rodney about it, and they got together, and about a week later, we were in the studio, and we did the beat. We sampled Grace Jones's "Nipple to the Bottle."
Okay.
And that was came up with Caution Crew for their name, and they recorded a record.
So the name of the crew was called Caution Crew.
Caution Crew.
Brother Marquis from Two Live Crew, as we know him, and Rodney O and Joe Cooley together on the same vinyl. And you put that out yourself?
Put that out myself. We did that record, did very well, created a buzz. Came back with a second record, and we added Pete Smith from Rialto to the group. So it was three of them.
Jay Smooth?
Yeah, Jay Smooth. And,
Jay Smooth.
It was called West Side Story. So it sounded similar to Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5's.
Oh, my bad. So I was thinking West Side Story was the first single.
No, West Side Story is the second single.
Oh, okay. And the first one was called again?
Rhythm Rock.
Rhythm. Okay. All right. Now I know West Side. That was the one that really.
Yeah, that's the one that really did what it had to do, and I still had the club going on.
Right.
Did
you have them perform at the club?
Well, they did perform at the club, but the connection story here of how Mr. Campbell got involved, Luke Campbell
of Two Live Crew. Luke.
He was the road manager for we picked Trenier, Debbie Deb, group called Freestyle, and Pretty Tony, and he happened to be the road manager for
Uncle Luke was.
Uncle Luke was.
Wow.
Now, and I'm skipping around here, so pardon me. I'm just trying to so many things to cover. We had my DJ at the club was Mr. Mix, Dave Hobbs.
Yeah.
And Chris was his partner, and they just got out of the military, so they were trying to get into the music game as well. So they had a record out. It was doing okay, but it was them performing at the club when Luke and them were there with managing with his groups. Now I got in trouble prior to my concert, so I was away at the old Riverside County Jail while they were building the new Riverside County Jail for tickets, driving crazy and so forth. And they got me because I was putting up poster boards. You're not supposed to hang any poster boards in.
Who remembers posting up the poster boards? Cats still do that, man, to this day. You want to do a party, you see them off the freeway. Hey, man, they got a whole street team for that.
Rodney wound up being signed to being picked up by Egyptian Lover. I had no contracts on any of my artists at the time, so I appreciate. Well, I was been blessed because after Rodney, I never wanted to block any artist from making a move that they felt was good for their career.
Sure, yeah.
And so, but after Rodney left over, Egypt got a hold of me. He said, "I got something for you." I got a $200 check.
Wait, I'm sorry, you stumbled on that one. How much?
Oh, $2,500.
$2,500. Okay.
Because
told you that he had a $2,500 check.
And he gave me that
in exchange for
not creating any problems.
Creating waves. Gotcha.
And doing things with Rodney. I never got anything from Luke, but that's cool. Dave called and said, "Hey, what's going on with Mark? I need somebody." I gave him Mark's number, and 2 days later, Mark was on his way to Miami, and that's how he became part of the Two Live.
Crazy, bro. So he had Rodney O under his belt, and he had Two Live Crew basically underneath their belt. Brother Marquis. And had they not moved on, or maybe if there was agreement signed or something, then it would have been a different scenario. Maybe there wouldn't have been a 2 Live Crew, or maybe there wouldn't be a Bronner Marquise.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. Mark would not have been in the group. There was always a 2 Live Crew with.
With Luke and Chris.
Before Luke, with Chris and Dave. They
gotcha.
were always 2 Live Crew.
Oh, that's right. You know, shout out to Mr. Mix, man.
Hey.
Riverside's always had. I mean, Al Wilson, the singer of Show and Tell.
Right.
He's from Riverside.
Yeah.
There's a lot of artists that are from Riverside.
Yeah.
And take stake claim to that. So once that was happening, I had to close the club down because there was an incident. And
Wait a minute. You said Al Wilson.
Yeah.
You're taking credit for Al Wilson.
No.
You discovered
I'm saying Al Wilson was someone from Riverside.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you had your hands on.
No.
Okay. In that, there was another artist. I think I want to say it was from Riverside as well. It was a rapper that came. It was in the 80s as well. But it started with a B.
Byron Davis?
Yes.
And the Get Fresh crew.
Yes.
San Bernardino.
Ooh.
Now, from
talking IE roots right there, boy.
Now, from one of the Get Fresh crew cats, his name was he was with the group, but he wasn't with the group. And when Byron went to Florida, to sign with Foresight Records, the kid stayed here, because he was too young and his mom didn't want him in the business at all. So his name is Joe. He started writing and doing things for me. Mm-hmm. That's how I got turned on to a girl named April B. That was his girlfriend. Now with April B, we did an answer to The Fly Guy by the Boogie Boys. They had the Fly Girl,
right? I remember
that.
Guy. Fly Guy. Yep.
We got the record out, started making some noise. Tommy Boy picked up the master for $3,000. So I was thinking, okay, we're gonna have a record out. It's gonna do well.
Danny, do you know any of these records he's talking about?
No, I don't. I really don't.
You've heard of Fly Girl, right? A fly girl, fly. See, Danny's young.
I gotta listen to it, and then once I listen to it, then I'll be like, oh.
So Reply Records were big, bro, back then.
So we did that, and they shelved the record. They didn't want our record competing against a female record that they were just putting out. So we still ran with what we did, but I wasn't able to really go after chase the record. I've always loved samples. I've always loved covers, and so that's just what the nature of the beast was business-wise.
Right. Now let's talk about. Let me pause right there. Let's talk about sampling in those days. I mean, obviously, around this time, we're talking 88, 89, 90, and we're hearing a lot of samples from James Brown.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden, James Brown something happened because James Brown, you stop hearing his samples on people's records, and companies started, right, like noticing, shit, like we can get paid, like they're using our music for hip hop. You were around that time. Tell us exactly, in your thoughts what happened.
People just started getting greedy, and I was guilty in the beginning of just sampling a record just to sample it because we didn't know any better. But as we progressed,
because that's what hip hop was.
Exactly.
Right.
But as we started doing things, it made better sense to acknowledge the writer or the record label that you lifted the beat from, or the idea from, or the concept from.
Right.
Give them their credit, because if it wasn't for that idea, you wouldn't have the idea that you had, to make your own record off of.
Right.
And so, but we were the first, or I was the first to do a lot of samples, and the first to do a record. Smiling Faces was the first time anybody ever sampled that.
Big Lady K. Yep.
Again, the Tina Turner record, the Faisal, Riding High. Nobody has sampled that. We won't say how it all happened. She wound up getting signed to Priority Records. The only female artist ever signed directly to Priority Records.
Shout out to that. There were some other females,
but they were there by way of the two girls, Funky Expedition.
Well, what about Oaktown 357?
They were on Hammer's record,
MC
Hammer's label.
Yeah,
but he had nothing to do with Priority. And we were trying to finish our album out, and we had a song called "Express Yourself." I got a hold of Romeo and Jammin' James by way of their manager, Doug Young, was the rap coordinator at Priority. So when I had Big Lady K there, it made sense. Brian Turner, who was the president of Priority, wanted to have somebody there that he could work with. And let me say this: what you saw in that NWA movie, 70% of that movie is true, but Brian Turner was not what you see on screen. Jerry Heller was not what you see on screen. And everybody.
In terms of what? What do you mean?
they made Brian look like he was a little pussy, and he definitely was not a pussy.
When Q went up there with a baseball bat?
Q did go up there with a baseball bat, but Brian said, hey, go at it, And Q did what he had to do, got his frustrations out, and he got charged for it. Brian got his money back, had Q record on that label. Q didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
He just had to let it out.
You're talking about the scene where, Ice Cube goes and because he didn't get his money?
Right. Okay. And that is true, and he did get his money. They all got paid.
Right.
You got to remember, you had 7 guys in that group, production company, manager, lawyers, everybody was getting their piece of it, So
during that whole NWA phase, that's when obviously Big Lady K was signed on Priority. Yes, she wasn't on Ruthless.
No, she was signed to Priority Records.
Okay, directly.
We got a video on her first single. I always had an office at whatever record label I was working out of to keep in hand and help with development of my, my artists. And Easy was in Brian's office, and Brian said, well, Easy wants to talk to you. I don't know why. Like why would Easy want to talk to you, And Easy came to my office. I came to my office, talked, and I got a check of $5,000 from him. And just a shake of hand, he says, just thank you very much. And again, that's for not creating any havoc and just being chill about it, So
Easy cut you a check. This was the second time getting cut a check for basically exchanging it for your artist.
Exactly. And not being a dick about anything. Again, if you could do something better than what you've got with me, then
I was gonna say that's dope because he didn't have to pay you shit.
No, he didn't have to at all.
Because you'd have no legal bindings between the group.
Not at all. But Easy was he was at Big Lady K. She was still in the hood, even out here, and she messed up on something, and he came out on his own, came all the way out to Riverside to talk to her, to tell her to get her shit together. So when he cared about somebody, he stepped in and he helped out.
Easy was a real one.
And that's
he was a real one.
That's a great definition of good things happen to great people, man.
Yeah,
it's dope.
He was also the first cat who, at that point, Easy signed. What's that girl's name? I can't remember. She was signed something B. But he signed a white girl rapper. He signed
Icy Blue.
Oh no, it wasn't Icy.
Okay.
Wow.
She was another female rapper. I don't know around that time.
And she was signed with this the Latin group Brownside.
Okay, that's right.
He signed Brownside. He signed everybody. He was all if you had the talent, and he put you out. It's all about relationships. So what you do with somebody is always going to lead into you using somebody or working with somebody. Not using that way, but working with someone down the
network.
Networking.
Yeah.
But back to the story here. What I was trying to say is we ran out of a budget for our sample, to use samples on Big Lady K's album, and we did Express Yourself. I didn't have any more money to clear it, so I couldn't use it on her album.
Right.
All right. I will say this: that Dre and them heard it from Brian, and about 3 weeks later, they had their version of Express Yourself. So no one had that sample until we did it with Big Lady K over at Priority Records. I don't care what anybody fucking says, and I dare anyone to try and prove me wrong on it.
Let it be known, Cliff. Speak your piece. This is the platform to do it. It's the blackout, damn it.
Let them know.
Hey, listen, we're gonna take a little quick break because this all leads to Cliff's history of being in music and creating and establishing a lot of these groups and putting them together and whatnot. This all leads to the next step, which is Lighter Shade of Brown, which came after Big Lady K. So we're going to go there next. Give us 30 seconds. Hey, what's up? It's ODM from Lighter Shade of Brown. And if you're seriously hurt or in a car accident and you don't know what to do, let the Munoz Lawyers attorneys take care of that for you. The attorneys at Munoz Lawyers have made it a point to get lawyer active, baby, and get you paid out and your car fixed all from A to Z. So don't stress it. Let the #1 accident attorneys in SoCal handle your case and get you what you deserve. Y si hablan español, no es problema, porque son Latinos activos. Call the Munoz Lawyers today, 855-MUNOZ-LAW. That's 855-MUNOZ Law, or visit MunozLawyers.com. Brought to you by Munoz Lawyers. Munoz Lawyers is registered DBA for Munoz & Munoz, attorneys at law. Attorney advertising results may vary. Welcome back to the Blackout Podcast. Woo-oo. It's your boy ODM, DJ Danny Boy in the mix, resident DJ. We got Cliff Ritchie here, the man, the myth, the legend, the saga, what other names I should call you, bro?
The Star Maker. No,
the Star Maker. In the building, man, right now. So let's continue on. We were talking about Big Lady K because after Big Lady K comes Lighter Shaded Brown. I know y'all can't wait to hear about how that was assembled, but finish off, man.
I wind up getting moving on to another job working at Mobile Gas, where I was making good money and I could have my afternoons and my nights free, or however I need to work with the business.
Right.
Big Lady K would always come by, get her big Coke and so forth. I worked at Mobile, right on University, right by the freeway.
Okay.
And she kept telling me, and at this time, music structures had changed. There was some, we had Frost that was making some noise, and we had Mellow Ace who was making some noise. So I was aware of what was going on there, but just nothing major. She kept telling me about this cute guy, and he could rap. Like she was just surprised he could rap, and he's Mexican. And that was her whole thing. Like, he's Mexican. He's just, he's dope. You got to meet him. You got to meet him. And I think I said no. I think I said no for maybe the first 3 months, and then I said, okay, you know what? Let me hear him. Have him call me.
Let me ask you. Were you hesitant to work with a Mexican rapper at that time because he was Mexican?
I was hesitant because a lot of Mexican artists,
and I don't mean to say that bluntly. I mean just because
it was,
there weren't any others other than Mello and Frost,
right? And they actually weren't kicking it the way that they should have been, working. It wasn't happening. But I've known, dealing with a lot of Mexican Latin artists, that their career is self-destructs. They get a good run, and then for whatever reason, it doesn't happen. Even though like Malo, El Chicano, Tierra, they all had their success and they've all continued on. Basically, there was a point that they didn't.
Right.
And I was just tired. I was really didn't know what I wanted to get into.
Was it like a lot of one-hit wonders? Is that what it was? Or not calling them one-hit wonders, but we all think of their one hit, and we can think of the others.
So it was hard. It was hard work for them, and just that whole vibe with working with Latin artists or Chicano artists. Just right. It was different, and it was a world that I was not.
And no one was really sold on it yet, because you're talking like the beginning of a movement that hadn't even sizzled yet, hadn't even surfaced.
Not at all.
I don't know if I said this, like when DJ Faye, did we talk about how I met Big Lady K at school?
No, you didn't.
So Big Lady K, she used to go to North, right?
No, La Sierra.
Hold on. She got transferred.
Oh, that's
from
right. From North. That's right.
She got kicked out. She was doing bad. Her and her brother Curtis Chambers.
That's right. Okay.
Shout outs to Curtis. So they moved over they came to La Sierra. I had just bought her single, Don't Get Me Started, at the warehouse.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So I remember her face vividly. Like, dude, like the next week, like I was in the mall, I was doing my thing. I just came across the art. I don't know if I heard of her on radio, if I saw her on video or whatever, but I saw this girl, and I was like, dude, I bought the vinyl. And the next week, she gets transferred to my school, to La Sierra High in Riverside, and I go starstruck. You know what I'm saying? You see somebody who got a record out, and you're going, wow. And I'm going, dude, I know who you are. I remember what she was wearing. She had on like this white long sleeve. It was the long sleeve shirt, white, pro club shirt, whatever. Underneath these blue Dickies suspenders. Dickies were, and she had one off and one on. The way they used to rock them. And I forgot how her hair was. I think it was like I don't know if it was braided or whatever. And she came up. I was like, what's up? Hey, you're Big Lady K. And she's like, yeah, what's up, homie? She was really cool. And I was like, hey, man, my name's Robert. You know what I'm saying? I go by Little R. And I said, I just bought your vinyl last week. I rap too. And she introduced me to Curtis, her brother, because he was right there. And Curtis always beatboxed. And I was always mesmerized the way he beatboxed. He was really dope. And they were like a little tag team. So she had asked me, she was all right, well, let me hear you. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right. So I busted at lunch. It was. She then said, okay, you pretty dope for a Mexican. And I was like, man, all right, well, whatever that is, whatever that means. I grew up on Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, and you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever. If that's the thing, she was like, no, you dope. I go, what's up with your manager? And there's where she walked me over to the high school payphone.
Okay. And
I called you, and there's where she introduced me, made the introduction. Right. So go ahead. Do you remember that conversation?
I do remember that conversation. I didn't know a lot of stuff you just told me right now.
Yeah.
I didn't know all
That's
that.
how it led up to that phone call, Cliff.
And you were at work? You were at work?
Yeah, I was at work. I worked all the time, just make killer money just by working and running the station, you know.
I just remember rapping for you over the phone.
And I remember at that point I said, okay, you know, we'll try something out. That's when we came to your house, me and Fabian, to, you know.
Jammin' James.
No, was it Jammin' James already?
Come on, Cliff.
No. I know he was involved.
We just talked about this.
We did.
I thought it was Fabian first.
No,
and then
I met Fabian later. You introduced me to Fabian. I was DJ-less. It was
because you were solo, right?
You brought I rapped for you over the phone. We made an appointment, and you brought Jammin' James over to my grandma's crib where I was living at, and he brought his 4-track.
Wow, I love that 4-track.
And we did it. You had sent me the beats prior. I think James had cooked them up, and somehow you mailed them on a cassette. Somehow I got them, and I wrote to them, and you came out and we recorded those 3 demos. Fabian and I we were talking about it. It was El Barrio, and it was to that Lakeside. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, it's all the way live.
It's all the way live.
We did
Oye, como va?
Yeah, I love that one.
And we did it in the 4-track in my room.
Okay, so we get the demo done. Frost and Metalman started making a little bit more noise. I shopped it around, you know, took it to Priority Records and took it to TSR, a couple other independent labels, and just no buzz, you know what I mean? They didn't like the songs and just they didn't understand the concept. I said, well, let's step our game up. Let's go to the studio. I booked Paramount, but Mr. Gutierrez here wanted to go, and it's okay. You know, he'd been on Riverside for almost a year, I think it was, or
a couple years, yeah.
Couple years.
There in '89.
One of his friends or his home was having a birthday party, and that's where he wanted to go. He wanted to go to the birthday party. And I said, well, I got studio booked, and I remember giving you. I said, well, you know, I'm gonna come be there to pick you up. If you're there, cool. If you're not, I don't know what we're gonna do. And I go to pick him up at your house, and you were gone. Now you told your mom, if you remember, that you were going to the studio, but you went to the party instead.
Uh-oh.
You put me on blast now with mom's 30 plus 3 years. Hey, how long were we shopping a demo?
When it was just you by yourself? Or?
Up until this time. Until this party where I went to Orange County. What were we doing? Was it 6 months in? Because I knew it took a while. Because I would go back to school, Cliff, after my demo, and it was all phone calls because, you know, he lived in L.A. So he would call me and be like, yeah, well, I'm like, how's it going? Well, we got a meeting with Warner Brothers. Blah, 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 blah. I'll let you know how it goes. Cool. Next day, we got a meeting with so-and-so. I'll let you know. And I'm like, cool. Me, of course, you know, you give some, I'm a young 16-year-old, man. You tell somebody in my ear, I blow it up to the extreme. I go to the school, yeah, man, I'm about to get a record deal, about to get to the rail, to the point where people got just tired of hearing me.
Yeah, tired of hearing me.
Like, dude, wait till you're on MTV, then come talk to us. I remember they would tell me that, and I'd be like, all right, whatever. And I was woofing that all school year. I was tired. I was impatient. You know, I wanted it right then and there. You know what I'm saying? I was going to L.A., back and forth, and I was trying to, you know, I got tired of hearing this. It was like, all right, cool, we're gonna meet with this. But I didn't realize that these things take time, man. People just like overnight, you know, record deals just don't happen, you know. And we were very fortunate.
Very fortunate. But I couldn't cancel the studio time, so I went. Fabian had Bobby, DWTX with him, and so I kept the studio and said, just go and just do whatever. Yeah. And Bobby was good at mimicking other artists. Like he could sound dead like them. And so, you know, he just went in messing around with some beats and stuff, and he did something that sounded like Easy. He did something that sounded like Heavy D, and he did, I forgot who the other, I think it was Too Short, I think it was, you know, that he sounded like. Right. I'm like, okay, let me try. I got mad at you, and I said, you know what, fine, you know, go to your party.
Because I was in the party in Orange County.
Yeah, so I said, you know, go to all the parties you want, you know, and that was it. And I was really upset, and so I don't know what I was thinking at that point. I was like, you know, damn it, you know, like that one move just completely threw me off. Yeah. But I went ahead and just let people hear Bobby, same people that heard you the first time, and they're like, he sounds like this person. You have anything that of his that is him? And I'm like, well, I'm gonna get something together. And so you get something together.
Also, the record labels were saying he sounds like he's a copycat rapper. He sounds like all these. Okay.
Exactly. Brian Turner even said, why do I need anybody who sounds like Eazy-E because I have Eazy-E, you know.
That makes sense.
And I was like, well, he's a Latin cat. It's different. And Brian's like,
but he's Mexicano.
Mexicans do it better. Just kidding.
You know, so I spent a lot of money, you know what I'm saying? And I really wanted to try and make something happen. I wasn't in a position to put a record out on my own. My goal at that time was once I got the taste of Big Lady K signed to Priority, I wanted to, you know, start working with, you know, with labels.
Yeah.
And then I think it was James who said, you know, just put them together. I mean, why don't you put them together? He said, there's no group out there. I said, they don't know each other. He says, how many groups are put together that don't know each other? You know what I mean? And that was the whole, you know, we put them together.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't like it, or Odium didn't like it at all. Bobby had this, you know, whatever, cause, you know, he just, you know, let's just do it. And that their relationship has always been just water and, ice? Water and gas?
Oil and water?
Oil and water, you know. We get this song called TJ Nights. I took it to the rounds again, but this time I was able to go to Quality Records. Now, Alan Franco, who was a friend of mine that I met when I was doing concerts and stuff up, you know, he was also a promoter. He had Timmy T signed there, and he knew Sammy, and he said, "Man, go. They're looking for artists. Yeah. They might like, you know, your group." And I remember going over there and realizing who I was actually going to go see. It was Russ Regan. He is Russ Regan. I mean, he is one of the. If you ever read the book called The Hitmen, there's 7 men in the music business who just ruthless guys. He's the 7th one, you know. And,
shit!
Yeah.
I never knew that.
You need to, you know.
I knew he signed like Barry White, didn't he?
Barry White,
Elton John,
right. Olivia Newton-John. He ran 20th Century Records. He ran Universal Records. He ran Motown Records. I mean, his first job was working with Motown promoting a Supremes record. I forgot the name of the damn record. For all these years, if you ever went to his office, it was always right behind him.
Yep.
And I always wondered why that record was there, and that was his first record that he ever worked. He was worked with the Beach Boys. It was exciting to me.
Right.
And Russ's office is a big office at the time. You know, I think the whole office at the time was on the first floor of a building. And it was just Russ's office and everybody else was on the corner. But I played TJ Nights, and we played two other demos.
I want to say Alvario, no?
I think it was Alvario,
and
TJ Nights, and Latin Actor.
Yep.
You know, so
the original Latin Actor, radio. Yep.
No, original before the original. I mean,
yes,
it was really
the first ever copy.
Yeah, it was rough, bro.
But they liked the concept, and you know, they said, "Okay, we'll get back to you, and we'll let you know." I left the office and went home, and I stopped at Vaughn's to get something to eat. I get a phone call in the store, and Sammy says, "Can you come back? And we want to talk to you again." They want to see me that same day, so I come back and I get to like 8 o'clock, and we start talking, and Russell went off you a contract, and so I got the paperwork. I remember going to my lawyer, getting paperwork for you and for Bobby. I had told you guys, here's a list of lawyers that you can deal with. You don't have to deal with my lawyer, you know. And let me say, if it wasn't for O's mom, I don't even think he'd be where he's at. I mean, she was on my ass, on everybody's ass when it came to handling her son, handling business. If it wasn't right, she let you know it wasn't right. And if it wasn't right and we were someplace else, you'd see her there before we were even there to make sure that
my mom had my back. Like,
shout out to Mama Gloria.
Yeah, she did.
She was in everything. I mean, because I was a minor, you know. Yeah. Bobby was 4 years older, you know what I'm saying? And
you were still under 18?
Yeah, 17, 18.
16 when you signed, 17 when, you know, things started cracking.
Dude.
Youngster, bro.
That's crazy.
Fresh out of high school.
I mean, she had it even hooked up where I even had a side contract with her that if anything happened to him, she could come after me, and it was worth it. You know, it was worth it.
She didn't know about them 40 ounces though. I was drinking out of Glendale apartment in the studio, which you haven't even talked about yet.
Yeah.
And the Thunderbird and Kool-Aid.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He's still trying to deny. He's gonna take that to his grave. Boy, that's why he didn't bring it up. Hey, let me put this in perspective, all right? So we're sitting at it was one day at his apartment, at his studio apartment. We talked about this on the previous podcast, how we recorded everything. But we were chilling there. And I remember, dude, like all I wanted to do was go to LA, was to record and drink a Vody. Because, I was doing that at home. It wasn't just in LA, obviously, high school years, right? But I remember I couldn't buy it. So I needed Cliff to go buy it, or somebody else, or Fabian, or whoever's 21. He's not going to fess up to it to this day because he know my mama watching. But Cliff come out. I remember just him coming out because I didn't want to write my lyrics. I was messing around, fucking around, doing something. He goes, Robert, you don't write your lyrics, you don't finish your verse, you're not getting a 40.
Liar.
I was like, what? Whatever, man. I finished up that day. I might have wrote 2 or 3 of them that day. Shit, just to get that
My memory's kind of hazy.
Yeah, because I would go on the weekends. I mean, obviously out of school, and then on the weekends, would I stay the night, or we'd go and come back?
No, you would stay.
So we'd go up with Fabian, and Fabian, he talked about he had his old Nissan truck, and they would make me sit in the back when it was legal to sit in the back of a truck all the way to L.A. in the back of a truck and whatever. And then him and Bobby, and we'd get there, and we'd go post up at your spot, and that's where we recorded.
Yep, that's where Two Down recorded. That's where.
So
that deal happened then after TJ Nights, like, when you showed him that
well, yeah.
demo?
So where he's in the office of Russ Regan, and then how do we get this deal?
They liked TJ Nights. They liked the concept. They liked what it could be, and the fact that this was the first group, the first Latin group that would be out making records. They were out. It was only maybe 8 months prior, but they were the first group out before Cypress Hill and before Cali Lifestyle and all of these other guys. But the thing with
Frost was the one that had his record out, right?
Frost and Mello,
right?
Do
you remember the postcard that Frost sent us? He was in London.
I can't remember. I do remember.
Yeah.
We used to get so much. I mean, once the record came out, we got so much mail from so many people. Reacting to the group and wanting to know more about them. And for a long time, they didn't know them as one was known as the tall one and one was known as the little one. We didn't have did not have the concept of who they were yet. They knew Shiro,
right?
You know what I mean? But they didn't know the boys' names, and we took a conscious effort to let them know that we got ODM and we got DWTX.
It was never like that though. It was always Robert and Bobby.
No, well. We weren't using your government names to radio, and it was really important at that point that we did go ahead and give them an identity. We were very supportive of the group. We had problems off and on with the group, but I don't know if they really understood the goal and the interest that it was really making them who they were.
Boom, we get signed, TJ Nights. Then all of us, that was a single deal with an option for an album, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we worked with TJ Nights, and then they came back when and offered us an album.
TJ Nights, if I remember, came out it was August.
Yeah.
We just shot the video down in TJ.
Yep.
What's funny is they're wearing Cleveland Brown jackets.
Yep.
At that time, Foot Locker they only carried jackets that were in their market. We actually had to get that jacket, and it was only one from a Foot Locker in Cleveland.
In the East Coast, yeah.
We were trying to get 5. We could only get 3. And we had to go to 3 different stores in order to get those jackets. But they came in, and people loved it. I bring that up because things are so separate at that time. It wasn't as easy to get things as it was now, and people wanted to start knowing, like, where are they from? TJ? Are they from Mexico? Are they from San Diego? Are they from? What about that Filipino kid? And we didn't have a Filipino kid in the group, but Bobby looked like he was Filipino, so that helped us work in certain markets. I think in the beginning you wanted it a lot more than Bobby did, and then Bobby wanted it more than you did, and it was work. This group, from the time TJ Nights really started making noise, they worked nonstop. I mean, we went through 3 years, missing birthdays, Christmases. They were on the road. And if they weren't on the road, we were making records. If we weren't making records, we were doing videos, or we were on the boulevard.
I remember taking like van rides across town to cross country to Texas. You remember when we did our first club in Texas, Simon the Diamond?
Wow.
And Alan Hammer?
First
Those
club
cats
ever?
right there, huh?
First gig ever?
Out of state.
Okay.
Aside of the Phoenix, we had a car show we did in Phoenix. It was our very first one out of. That was a big show. I posted some photos up. I'll see if I can grab them.
That was the one with Tony and I'm Your Puppet.
High C.
High C.
Tony A. Shout outs to Tony A. Yeah, Rhodium Radio. Yeah, that was the first one out of state. But he's talking about like just even. I remember even going to Hollywood Boulevard. This is one of my like fond stories. Is I remember when we first got like our cassettes and our CDs and of our albums. And I remember we had in our backpacks, and me and D, Bobby, we were like on Hollywood Boulevard. We were passing them out, and by the time we got to the end, everybody was bumping the Brown and Proud album, all the mini trucks and everything. And then I also remember that one time where we were on that same night. There was cops that saw us because we were passing out our CDs to some gangsters out there, and they saw us all together. And the cops came up, harassed us, and grabbed our backpacks and slammed them to the floor and stepped and crushed all our CDs, man.
That was messed up too.
Yeah, but we already had got them out. These were the last of them. But yeah, that's one story I always remember, man. We were hustling. We used to
go up Boulevard, up and down, same thing. Just passing out the tapes, passing out posters. I mean, and it got to the point where I think you both at one point just. You were tired, it was a lot of work.
It was tiring, we got burnt. And remember, in those days, you didn't have social media to push. It wasn't easy as a DM or as a text message or anything like that. It was just straight, like we were talking about earlier, man, just posting up poster boards or passing out flyers or just vinyls. We go to DJ clubs and pass out our vinyls, meeting certain DJs. And that's the way to do it. If you're an artist and, aspiring one, dude, there's nothing. Word of mouth is the best. To me, it still is the best publicity, bro.
What was that? I meant Street Mentality. There was supposed to be a certain stage and certain equipment for you guys. I think there was a box stage was just small. Microphone wasn't working, and they had a
bro. We performed on we still do today sometime, man. We don't care. We'll get down on any stage, but it was the equipment we had. We performed. We used I remember one time we did this car show up in L.A. and it was a Walkman, and we had to perform off of a Walkman. Our show tape was on a cassette because they didn't have a DAT player. We would take DATs, and it was more clearer, high quality. But we used a cassette, and the cassette player only reached so far. It was like, here's the deck right here. But we had all this space over here to perform, but we had to stay close to this space because either the wired mics didn't reach or it was the wired mics. They didn't reach from the booth. It wasn't long enough. So we were like literally right next to the sound guy like this, and you had all this stage, and we were rapping off cassette, man. We did it all, dude. Like, but that's what you got to do, And in those days, those are where you say, hey, man, did these guys pay their dues? Yeah, we paid our dues. And this is one group that we did. And Cliff, he can attest. He was right there with us.
It's crazy.
So moving on, TJ Nights and then Latin Active hits. And around this time, we switched management.
Well, before you switch to management, we initially
come on, man, let's get to the goods.
We're gonna get to it. We had the first version of Latin Active. Radio was not really feeling it, but they were trying to help us out because we as a label was trying to help them out. We did we ran out. I think the company pressed up 10,000 initial albums and 5,000 cassettes and no CDs yet. But we did what they call a running change, which meant after we ran out of product, we had to, we went in and changed Latin Active, we changed Sunday Afternoon, we changed Audio, and we changed Spill the Wine. Right.
Yeah.
To the version that you know them as.
And we went in, we added like bass lines to them, we played strings, synth, all that stuff, just to really beef up the samples.
Because remember, when we recorded that album, I think the company called for an album on a Monday, and we had to have that album done the following Monday. We booked 4 studios. We were just running nonstop, trying to just get it done to turn it in. And so a lot of the songs didn't come out the way that we wanted them to. We were able to, back up and fix them.
Even TJ Nights was a sample. But I know you spoke on about this before, but I think the Eagles didn't want us to use the sample because they didn't like the record.
They didn't like rappers. They didn't like nobody touching their stuff. So we had to actually go in and recreate that song.
And it also came with a remix. Shout out to Tony G, who did the Club O remix, right?
Yes, for TJ Nights. And then what did B-Real did the not B-Real.
Muggs did Spill the Rhyme later. Yeah.
You know, we had, this group had everything that they really needed, even though they thought they didn't. Every song that they put out, there was a video. There's major artists who don't get, that treatment for every video.
But it took the label at some point to believe in us, because back in the days they just didn't give you a video. You had to sell a certain amount, or they really had to believe it. Because I remember those days, like, okay, well, we'll see what the single does, then we'll give you a video. Am I wrong?
No, well, yes and no. Russ would always say that. He would never say something that would come back to bite him in the butt, But we always had treatments. We always had videos ready to go. And we'd release a record. Maybe 2-3 weeks later, there was a video, and the group was growing. The group was growing, slowly but surely with that. Let's move on to the manager thing.
Okay.
The group at that point felt that I was hindering their growth, which I really wasn't. They thought I was trying to control them, which I'm not saying I was controlling them, but I didn't do anything that I wasn't doing, initially. But
hold up, before you get into that, which management change are you doing? Because there were two.
The first one, yeah, there was two.
All right, go for it. Go ahead.
No,
make sure we're on the same page.
I had set up a show with them at the Celebrity Theater. It was a Bobby Ross.
CNC Music Factory, Vanilla Ice.
No. CNC was in Santa Barbara. It was Vanilla Ice, Bobby Ross Avila, and you guys. And
CNC.
No, CNC was in Santa Barbara. Again, you guys had stuff pumped into your head, which is fine, And I was told not to fight it, and I didn't fight it. Russ said, just let it play out. At the same time, Russ had Bobby Ross Avila signed to the label, So I think he was with him with his dad for 3 months.
It wasn't that long at all. It was very short when we were Bobby Ross Sr. And
but he changed your whole.
Yeah, we talked about that. If you guys missed the last one, there's a link in the description. You can go right here on that one. But we had talked about, he had us up in like Century 21 suits. We would talk about that, and we were dancing and we were doing all this and that, and it just wasn't us. It really took us out of our element. It was more of a pop singer thing. Type of deal, because his son Ross, that's what he had them doing, so he felt like that was us, but it wasn't really the concept that we were given to by you. It wasn't your vision. I mean, come on, like we were wearing suspenders and starter caps on our Broad and Proud cover. Like for us to go jump from that to that, it just didn't make sense, and so we started seeing that. But you made a comment earlier how you said they were in my ear and in our ears and pumping us up. Now that I remember, that's true. There was a lot of stuff that was said, a lot of stuff that was, painted. You paint a picture, and then you always think, as the individual, maybe it's greener on the other side. You know what I'm saying? And to some point where we thought it was, and we were young kids. We just saw something that wasn't going right with us. Whatever that is, Clip. I don't know. Bobby did a lot of the talk, most of the talking, because he was older and Bobby would always be in my ear a lot, you know what I mean? And I was just kind of like, the follow around. All right, well, whatever, let's do it. As long as him and I were together. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're right.
And for whatever reason, it was always a money thing. I don't know if that had started at that point to where we felt like we weren't getting. I had heard like we weren't getting what we were supposed to be getting. As far in terms of shows goes, we were getting less. So this was brought to me by, DWTX, and he was like, no, man, fuck that, man, blah, 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 blah. And I would hear all this and that. I'm just like, what? That's why I always say, like I didn't care about money getting into this business until I just wanted to be treated fairly. And according to him, we weren't. So when Bobby Ross Sr. offered us more gigs, and X, Y, and Z, it just sounded better, and that's all that I remember. I don't know if you remember everything else was said to you, the reason or why. Or...
It boiled down being the money. People thought I was charging too much as the manager. I was 25% of the gross of what the group made from every show, and I felt it was worth it because I put in X amount of money trying to to develop the group. We had dancers. we had Shiro, we had a DJ, we had a road manager. They had, all those people had to get paid.
Right.
And that's when Bobby was like, well, we could do it ourselves. I'm like, no, you can't do it yourself. You can't do all that and then be the artist, as
very,
well.
very, very true statement. And I notice a lot of artists think that they can. I've heard that with so many groups since then.
You were working at Vaughn's, I think it was.
Lucky's.
Lucky's. And Bobby was working at Vaughn's. So, you guys want to know when we could quit it. I said, you guys quit your job when you see me walk into the store and I have a check in my hand. And that happened. I mean, I remember walking in the store and your manager called you up front. I gave you a check and said, you can go. You don't have to work anymore. He went outside and there was a limousine sitting there, and he gets in the limousine. It was just really cool. We go to the next store, pick up Bobby. And, from that point on, they were actually in a position to make money for themselves. Robert was always the workhorse when it came down to finishing. Bobby was always easy to start stuff, but sometimes Bobby didn't want to write, or he didn't feel like filling a song or whatever. Robert would do his part writing wise. Bobby would recite it, and when it got time to get paid, Robert would get more money than Bobby would, and Bobby was very upset about that. But I said, if you don't write it, you won't make money off of it. This group.
Because I did a lot of the production side as well. He did some production. I think we both had our fair of production, right?
You had more because Bobby would always try and was venturing off to a different sound or a different style, and I'm like, you guys have this lane. It's your lane. Nobody else is in it. Don't try and do what somebody else is doing. Stick here, make your money.
D was always the more creative one, and like he would come as far as the ideas. Like when it came to like finding the concept, like if you concepted me a song, boom, I could write it. Like, all right, I'll put myself in there. But as far as creating outside of Cliff, well, and Bobby was like, he's the one that concepted hip hop locals, if I'm not mistaken. And he's the one that with the dressing, the inside out dickies and whatnot, and that was his whole thing. And just to be upfront, like I wasn't really down with it because I was like, dude, like stick with the trend, man. Like we rocking suspenders, we got the starter hats, but I was like, he wanted to be different, and I saw that, so I wasn't really against it either. I was kind of in between, but here again, I just kind of went along with it. I never wore inside dickies. I never wore what he wore. I know he would buy the beanies and all that, like you saw in the Spill the Rhyme video. That's what he was rocking. And me, I've always been the cat with the hat and the T-shirt.
Well, a lot of artists want to. They've got fame or they've got something that's going on and they want to have what the next man has, not realizing that somebody wants what you've got, and you just have to, stay the path. And again, with Russ, instead of fighting, because I didn't want the Hip Hop Locals album, I said, you know what, just give me 2 songs, y'all just fucking just do what you want to do. And the one was Homies, and the other one was
Let's back up here. So we ended up leaving Senior, and we ended up coming back to you.
Coming back.
All right. And I think our conversation was you got on the horn and you started saying, look, guys, either let bygones be bygones, but I know you were just like inviting us, saying, look, selling us back. I got this lined up. I got Coca-Cola. I got Japan. I got blah, 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 blah. And after going through what we went through on that side for such a short term with Ross and them, I was like, shit, it sounds better over here. And I've always been that way with you. Like, you're the concept of it. Like, I got it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to sit here and say, shit, dude, like, I wasn't pissed off at certain scenarios, but that's a relationship. That's how relationships are. You're going to go through these, especially with each other every single day, as you mentioned. I mean, we were on the road. If we weren't on the road, we were in the studio, like you, XYZ. So it's basically a marriage is what it is. Especially when you have a manager, if you're not on the phone, you're in person. So you're going to get tired of some, hearing certain things, or you're just going to have differences. And that's why a lot of reasons why groups end up going their separate ways, from their management, label, or what have you. But I remember you sold us on just coming back. We were unhappy. So like, all right, well, let's dip back over here. Fabian stayed. And I asked Fabe, why? And his response to me was, I just felt like the way I got from it was he wasn't really sold. Number one, he wasn't sold on Lighter Shade, right? Becoming as big as to what we were or what we were eventually about to be. Right. So he didn't believe in that. Secondly, he was a producer and he saw more opportunity with Ross, because Ross was tied in with New Kids on the Block, and he had that whole whatever Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, right. and he was working with, and that I think was more DJ Fabe's lane. So that made sense for him to stay. He rapped on Brown and Proud, and I think that was it on the Brown and Proud album, right?
Exactly.
And that was it.
That was it.
He was a producer. That's what he wanted to do, which I understood, and all good. So it was Bobby and I, D-Double, who came back with you, and there's where we continued on. So go ahead, man.
When there was a third person, when Fabe was, that
Mediator.
third guy would be the one to say, okay, either voting for it or not voting for it. And there'd be a lot of times that we would have meetings, and Bobby would be in a mood, or you would be in a mood, and just opportunities would not, we couldn't develop it. Jumping forward on the Lollapalooza tour, we had a chance to put you guys on the Lollapalooza tour, which is a big tour of that time.
It was like Coachella of this era.
And you guys were hell-bound on doing Lollapalooza here in L.A. because everybody knew you. The whole reason you do Lollapalooza is to open up a whole brand new market. Right. And we got you accepted on the East Coast one. You guys didn't want to do it, and just stop the growth.
All right, hold on. It's fair to say that we didn't want to do it. I'll take that. I don't see that being me, but I'm gonna take one for the team, because if it affects one, it affects the whole team. So I will say that. It was to my understanding that we had to pay our own way there to Lollapalooza, which meant airfare, van, whatever it was, we had to pay for everything. And at this point, we were already successful off of our records. So we're thinking, well, shit, we just got offered to be on one of the biggest stages in America. To this day, it doesn't get bigger than Lollapalooza. So why wouldn't the record label fund the money to have us out there, or at least meet us halfway or something? Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. Part of the deal with you guys coming back is transparency on monies and where they were spent. So yes, even though the label was going to cover it, it was going to come out of your, it was going to come out of your pocket.
Eventually.
Eventually. They did not see what I saw for East Coast. They were happy with what they had.
Right.
They were making money, and they didn't want to spend money where they thought it wasn't going to benefit them. But I wanted a national group. Light Shade of Brown was we had the Latin thing locked down. We were starting to break into the black marketplace. So I wanted you to be as big as any black group out there, and I fought hard for that to happen. I got my ass kicked a lot of times for trying to push you guys into markets, like in Philadelphia, for instance.
Yeah, we
would just everybody loved Latin Active, but they wouldn't add the record because we don't have any Latinos in our.
Right. I remember there being a situation with the name. Before
they even counted Latinos, there was more Latinos and Dominicans and Puerto Ricans in Philadelphia than I don't know where.
Right.
But they wouldn't play the record.
They are scared, you think?
No, they didn't want to alienate their core audience, which was a black audience.
Ooh,
unbeknownst to them, in some areas we had more black followership and people liking these records than we had with Latinos or whites.
Especially when we started touring, doing promotional tours out in Chicago area, Detroit, and I remember going out there and working our Sunday afternoon single. And
remember the hat?
Yeah, D-Double?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Bobby used to wear his hat sideways like this all the time, right? And it's a hip-hop thing. It always has been. But not in Chicago. Like in Chicago, they knew that we were coming there, and our video Sunday afternoon was already out. And Bobby, if you see him in the video, he has his hat to the side. Well, I guess one side met one gang, the other side, if you were to this side, was another gang. And I don't know if there was threats made before we got there.
There were threats made because disciples were going to get on Bobby because he's promoting being a king in the video and coming to the school right in their neck of their neighborhood. Yeah. And I remember really telling Bobby, either don't wear the hat or keep it straight, And he said, okay, I'll keep it straight. And he loved to sometimes just start shit. You know what I mean? And
sounds like, from what I hear, man, it's crazy.
Who did? Yeah.
Jeez.
And he walked out. He was like a little dude, but he just had.
What's up, cut?
He would walk out there on stage and everything was cool. I think guys did everything. When we got to the last song, he flips it over to the left and just completely caused a whole riot just for flipping it. And it was a
damn. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
What I do remember is the Detroit jacket he bought.
Oh yeah.
And he was like set on. Bobby had to have a jacket everywhere he went, or just sometimes he was spending money left and right. And I used to get upset because my mom would have me on an allowance, and you know she would say, "You don't. Here's your money. You know, here's what you're gonna get, and that's you know, use it wisely." Bobby would just spend money how he wanted. So he every town he always had to have hats, and he had to have shoes. He was a big fan of shoes. But I remember he was looking for a jacket, and he saw this Detroit jacket, Tigers, and it was. I remember the jacket. It was a leather jacket. It was a Letterman's jacket. You know what I'm saying? And it had a big D on the back for DWTX. That's Disciples in Chicago, though. You can't wear that. And that was the first thing. I don't think he ended up wearing it. I think somebody told him not to wear it.
Somebody checked him on it, and he didn't wear it. You remember we just.
And we had no bodyguards at this time, right? We didn't roll body because we didn't need any. Like we didn't cause trouble. We were just more so up like the fans or the girls that would need to be pulled off. Remember that time where some girl pulled Bobby's chain?
Oh, he got so.
It was in Arizona, and we had a freaking line around the building, man. And we did this autograph signings before the show. You know, we'd come into town, we do a meet and greet, autograph signing, then we do the show at night. So we came in for the radio station, and they dropped us off right in front of the crowd, and there was only one entrance, and we got to go through a crowd. It's like the LL Cool J I Need Love video where he's going through the crowd like this, and there's all kinds of fans swarming. And one girl grabbed Bobby's chain and yanked it. Oh, man, he let her have it, dude. He just went, oh, motherfucker, who took my motherfucking chain? Bitch, right there. I was like, Bobby, come on. And, you know, obviously we couldn't stay there, and he wanted to go back after and get it, but I don't think he ever got it back.
Yeah, he did. A guy saw it, got it from her, and held on to it until he got, in line and got the autograph and gave
it back to her. Okay.
You know, so he apologized for. He didn't know who she was, but he wasn't. He didn't like that. Bobby was also the one when we started doing. We did a show with Too Short in Salt Lake City, and Bobby was accustomed to talking a certain way, and Too Short did not appreciate him saying certain words or acting a certain way. So
is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We were supposed to.
That was Utah.
Yeah, it was Utah.
I remember because I remember Too Short. You know, we have these riders. We order what we want right backstage when we get there. So some will order like, what do we get now? Moons. We get like vodka,
Don Julio.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's all alcohol. And then we'll do some like towels and some water, whatever. Yeah. But at this time, Too Short on his rider, he would order like straight malt liquor, like straight 40 ounces, Old English to be exact, and that was the drink of the time. So I remember we knew that he had that in his backstage. Anyway, make a long story short, we ended up going while he was on stage after we went on and go, we're still in his beers and shit. But go on, it was that show.
Yeah, so Short didn't like that. He didn't like.
So he didn't like the way D was
using that N-word like it was nobody's business. And you have Too Short as the performer, and then you got Too Short as the individual and the man. And he didn't like Bobby's attitude at all. And we were supposed to pick up 5 other shows with him, and he didn't like him, so we didn't get those shows.
He would use that N-word loosely.
Very loosely.
And it's crazy because nowadays, like more and more, you see Mexicanos using that word, N-word.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you feel about that as a black person?
Of course, you know what? I don't care. If it's coming from a sense of love, or
I get what you're saying.
I have no problem with
it. There's ways of saying how you know if it's being
use it, don't abuse it.
Exactly. And I don't use it, but that's not my position to stop another man or somebody else from using it. Just use it the right way.
Right.
And that's just a word that
it's another conversation.
Yeah,
I get it. But I just, you personally, I mean, I know the question I asked was because it gets brought up a lot in social media is today's gente, raza, Mexican Chicanos, using the N-word a lot in their music. And Moons, I know you know what I'm saying? You're an artist. Mm-hmm. Like you don't use it. You know what I mean?
I don't use it.
I don't think I've ever heard him use it.
You know what I'm saying? And I wonder if it was because they brought up on Pac and so forth. And
I think it was you hear it and you hear it and you hear it and you just you're a fan of the music, and if Pac said it, then
it was cool.
It was cool. So
it was cool. Right. Do you remember the song "No Matter Where You Go"? It's always where you. It ain't where you're from. Was that with you, or was that with our third album, Laying in the Cut?
I was Laying in the Cut.
Was that Laying in the Cut? So How You Gonna Act, Black, and then that was Bobby. Anyway, yeah, and he got checked in Washington, man, and for saying the word black, because at that time, that word was popular as well. It was a slang, you know. There's slang terms that go on throughout the years, but what they also don't understand is we shared a universal audience. It wasn't just Latinos, you know what I'm saying? Even though we were, you know, Chicanos doing it, but, you know, our audience was broad.
Contra Via, I think, was on the first album.
Right.
And then we did something with Cesar Chavez on the second album.
Yep.
You guys didn't see why it was important to me to have you guys discuss or do a song about.
I'm glad you brought that up, Cliff, because we never discussed this. The beginning of this interview is how Big Lady K brought us onto you, and why did you decide to finally work with us?
As a group, there was nobody out there. I like to be the big fish in a small, you know, in a small pond, but there was the family aspect of it. You know, you guys stay with your grandmother and your uncles and your cousin. And there's a family unity about it.
Right.
And there was nobody out there speaking on the lifestyle, you know, or you have Public Enemy doing all this stuff, but they were very pro-black. My whole thing was to expose, you know, Latin side of things, you know.
That idea must have came after you finally decided to meet with me, because if you were concepting that before, then you would have said yes right away when Big Lady K wanted to introduce me to
the concept with you guys came after, seeing what could be, you know what I'm saying? And I just started writing down the songs, the samples, just the ideas, and the concept of this group could just be the biggest group ever. And that was mine.
Hey, man,
you know?
I got to give it up, dude, because when I came to him, I was a battle rapper. Bobby was a copycat rapper, you know, or I don't know if he ever battled, but you know, he was known for doing other people's voices. I was a battle rapper, but when Cliff, and I've said it before, when you gave us this concept, like I said, you give me an idea, I'll write with, okay, well, we're going to concept this album. But little did I know, he was like, I remember the conversation we had about Sunday Afternoon. You were like, look, dude, Will Smith has got Summertime. You know what I'm saying? Or Jazzy Jeff from Fresh Prince, however you want to call him. Now paint that picture of you, your heritage, your culture, you know, going to the park. You guys go to the park on Sundays. Talk about what you guys do. Am I right?
Yep.
Write about what you guys eat. You know, they barbecue and rib. You're doing carne asada, lapping on the grill. So that's how that was. I think that was just so dope, man. And
it should have been a bigger record than it was. Contractual-wise, there were some things that were going on, and the label suspended the contract, which means any promotion on that song, everything was dead until October that year. So it was a summer record that was promoted in the fall, and it didn't have the empowerment that I wanted. But there were some songs back in the day that Wonderful Summer by, I forgot her name, but she had it was a #1 record for her. It was a summer record that came out, you know, in the fall time. But everything that I tried to do was was to. Each set was supposed to make the group just become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, you know. And
we can go back and forth the stories and give us a big like right now, man. If you like these stories, you like hearing the memories, if that's what you're here on this podcast for, because we got plenty of them. And we can sit here for at least another half an hour and just go over the stories, because so many come to mind. And as I say that, I remember recording, okay, let's jump from the Brown and Proud to the Hip Hop Locals album. We got on that, and as you mentioned earlier, I think you said you wanted 2 songs, and you let us do our work on that. And I remember recording at Paramount, and those were the days. We did some there. We did some at Image One. After that, I remember you assembled a Hip Hop Locals tour, and this was like our we didn't have an official Brown and Proud tour, but this Hip Hop Locals tour was the one. It was time to go on. It consisted of Lighter Shade, Street Mentality. Shout outs to them. Another act that you signed. Also ALT, part of Latin Alliance. Think N2 Deep, JT, and all them. They was part of it. Am I missing anybody?
Frost
was on a couple shows,
but he wanted his own. He wanted his own he didn't want to ride with us.
Oh, okay.
If you remember, and
I want to say Oregon, and then ended up to Canada. But there was one incident where I think somebody got jacked. Didn't we get jacked for our equipment or something?
We got jacked in Canada. Bobby went back to the van to get something, actually, to get his package.
Okay.
And he did not securely lock the van. We come back out maybe 30 minutes later, and the back of the van, the doors were like swinging in the wind. Everything was gone. Luggage.
We hadn't crossed the border yet.
No, we were at the venue. We had already crossed the border.
Oh, snap.
Everything was gone.
Yeah.
And the guys that helped save us, I can't remember the names. They were a group. They had a record store. They were concert promoters, and they had equipment that we could use because we came with our own equipment at that time.
Right.
And it was that I was really devastated because that was like everything was gone. Promotional items, just everything.
Right.
And I wanted to strangle that boy just because
Didn't they steal ALT's drum machine or turntables?
Everything that was in
turntables. Because I remember bringing that up.
What was in the van was gone. Turntables, clothes, hats, drum machines, just everything. I never had that feeling like being in a whole other country and just all your stuff is gone and you had a show that you had to do.
So how do we end up doing the show? Was it with like ADATs or not ADATs or DATs?
We did it off of we did voiceovers. That was the first time because I always wanted to make sure that the group did live vocals.
That's right.
So people know that because there was a point where people say, okay, you just got some black guys to just do some okay rapping, and then you put these guys, picture on the cover, and they didn't believe that, Latin cats could flow like that.
Ooh, that is so key right there. That's a good point.
But we did, that was the first time we did, where you guys did over your,
we rapped over our vocals.
Over your vocals.
Basically, yeah. We weren't lip singing. We just did that over. And I can't forget about, and I always got to bring this because one of my biggest memories when we performed at Six Flags Magic Mountain with Marky Mark.
Yep.
And that was the biggest show. And I think the shows that I get approached about the most is that show right there in particular with Six Flags. I mean, that was probably like, other than maybe the KML Summer Jams and all that, and Phoenix Summer Jams, but that one sticks out the most.
Biggest audience, the most money that I've ever gotten, for the group, and which is a whole nother story for another day because there were times that I tried to get more money for you guys, and there'd be another rap act or a black rap act getting 10 times what I was getting for you guys, and you guys were bigger than they were. You had more record sales, but because of the fact that you weren't black, I couldn't get.
Ooh, that's so deep right there, bro.
You'd be surprised the bullshit that we had to go through to position you guys or to be fairly compensated.
Yeah.
And it just boggled my mind. And yes, I would get as much as I could, and I always felt you do the show because who knows, that one show could lead to a bigger show, But it's like
we never understood that. Sometimes today, like even we were talking the other day, and he had mentioned something about doing one show, and that could lead to other things. And here we are, 3 plus years later, and I'm like, well, shit, dude, I've already like kind of paid my way. Like I've already paid the dues. Like, but I get it now. Like you still have to, if you're trying to get, bust down this door, you gotta. You got to give a little, you know what I'm saying? Just to at least show your face, like out of sight, out of mind. Well, why should we put you on this big ass tour? Sure, we know what you've done over here, but we want to know what you can do. Why we should put you on here. Let's see something, right? We ended up parting ways though after a while, and I'm trying to remember. I always had to come down to money. It had to be something. I think and somebody was in our ear telling us, Cliff is doing you wrong, man. You ain't getting paid what you're supposed to be getting paid. And, I think one promoter told us at one point that they paid us, this much, but it would, and we were like, what? We only got this much. And they were like, well, we paid Cliff this much. And
if I knew now what I knew back then, I would have gotten his ass about that because you don't do that. And second of all, again, I never hit anything. There were charges, and I remember after we got you guys your cars, right? You guys got your first cars. We had a show somewhere, and you wanted to bring in like 6 guys, and Bobby wanted to bring in 7 guys. We bought him in. But when we were recouping everything, why am I paying for this airfare? Why am I paying for this and that? Because you guys wanted it. You know, you asked for it. You know, you were in a positive with the label, so they covered it.
Yeah, but the recoup money had nothing to do with the show money. The show money was instant.
No, but with the show money though, there were. We had, what do we do? I was still at 25%. We still had Shiro. We still had the booking fee.
So the overhead fee, I get what you're saying, because when you sign with the booking fee, they already take 30%.
Right, so that had to come off. You know, I still made my 25% off of the gross. So if it was a $10,000 show, I still made my money off of $10,000. If the booking agency wound up taking, let's say $2,000, you guys felt that I should do my charge off of, you know.
That's fair, and we did have extra people that came with us, but see, we don't know that. You know, when record labels say, you know, hey man, you wanted these limousines, you wanted these fancy dinners, you wanted this and that, and you wanted to act like, you know, you want to live the good lifestyle, and you know that money's got to come from somewhere. They'll front it, but they're gonna get their money back somehow, you know, and that's usually later on off of your royalties, and you wonder why I haven't seen my residuals, my royalties, is because you got to be recouped, right?
You have to even in today's world, you know, there's going to be recoupment. With you guys going to Mercury, that's another thing too. I wanted you to stay at Quality. I did not want you to go to Mercury. Mercury they just signed Nasty Boy Click with Glass Note Records.
Yeah.
And they picked up Frank and Ernie.
Proper Dose.
Proper Dose. So, you know, they were, you know, that label at the time was trying to just grab everybody. Why would you want to be at a label and there's 2 other groups similar to you,
right? You
know, over there? It didn't make sense. Stay at home. That's come in for the 3rd album, the single "Hey DJ." That was supposed to be the single that would, you know, solidify you.
Right.
And it did okay, but it didn't solidify you.
Right.
You know,
what happened was we ended up leaving Cliff Management. We jumped in the seat with DJ P, Paul Stewart, West Coast, Def Jam. You know, managed Coolio, Montel Jordan, Warren G, and you know, we saw bright lights. We were like, this is where we need to be. You know, because, you know, as an artist, you always want to think further. You always want to think bigger and better from what you think. So, you know, we met DJ P, and he ended up shopping us a record deal. Wasn't that hard because we were already established, you know, so he walked us into a couple of them, and finally is where we got, you know, he got us to deal with Mercury. And I'm going to stop right there because I know the reason why, as I feel why we ended up taking that deal. And I won't get into this now. Maybe we'll have DJ P on later on in the future, which I plan to get so I can get his perspective of the whole situation, how it went down with the Laying in the Cut album and that whole scenario. But when we did get signed to Mercury, I will say this. We got lost. We got lost in the motherfucking shuffle because being on a major label, you know, you have to put up the numbers. And they got money. They're going to put out the money for you. They got the money all day, which Quality sometimes, that's the biggest, to me, was their downside, their downfall was there was a whole Lollapalooza situation. I feel like they didn't want to invest the money in the group, or they didn't have the money. These were my thoughts. Maybe you have a different perspective. So when we saw Mercury, a bigger label, they had bigger money. I was like, yeah, they're going to spend the money. Well, they may have the money, but they may not know how to market us. And it's the difference. It's like going to a mom and pop shop versus a major franchise. You know, it's like mom and pop, you're going to have that more one-on-one interaction. With Cliff, we had that more one-on-one interaction. With Quality, I could walk into Russ's office anytime I wanted. With Mercury, which was on the East Coast, mind you, you know what I'm saying? We would have to fly over there to go meet with them. This was a company that did not even know who Lowrider Magazine was and didn't know how to market us. And that was the biggest red flag right there. I do remember that. And it was like, well, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to shoot a video on up top. We're going to hook you up with so-and-so, top producer, and we're going to put your single out. And it was like, all right, well, what's the plan? Are we touring? Are we doing Lowrider show? What's Lowrider?
Being with Paul should have been, on paper, it should have been beautiful. And it wasn't. He just wanted bragging rights. Everybody wanted bragging rights, and he knew that there was a problem. So everybody was like trying to position themselves to say who got a hold of the group. Every artist that I've signed to whatever record label is, I was at that label because I know, how to finance the money out of it. I know what I felt was right for that group. Referring back to the Lollapalooza, the label didn't think they didn't want you guys part of it. I did. They said we'll front it, and you guys just pay it back. It was very, very important for me to have you on that tour because I would have been more MTV exposure. There would have been East Coast exposure that could have been open up doors more, for international.
Right. One thing you said, I don't want to cut you off, but one thing you said on Tony A's podcast is that, and it made sense. Well, like having us go over there to the East Coast, like you said, would have opened up more markets for us, but we were more comfortable with where we were already stars, like the cities we were, the Southwest region. We were comfortable with that, meaning why grow? Why go further? We're already accepted here with our own people, our own gente, our own markets. We didn't want to grow further. And you know what? And I bite the bullet on that one because we should have listened. Because you get in this industry not just to rap for your gente, you know what I'm saying? You want to be popular. You want to be mainstream. If we're mainstream already, then we want to appeal to the masses. And that's something that I know, like even going into Brazil, and we never toured those places. And for whatever reason, we're in our little comfort zone. And that was the Southwest region. That was California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. And we would we would cycle out these states, right?
Yep.
And we would stay. And Cliff always wanted to take us in the East Coast. So, I remember that. I commend you on that. Really quick, bro. Really quick. And I have to touch upon this. What was your thought when you heard, really quick, about D's passing, DWTX?
I was pissed. I always told him that if he had, unbeknownst to maybe you or a lot of people, I can't even explain how much money I spent or how many times I would bring him somewhere that we could try and get him and Johnny Z down in San Diego, was really helpful in trying to get him clean. We didn't want nothing from him. He would do stuff with somebody and they try and get him clean enough to make an album or to do 4 songs and then just let him go. We were really, really trying to just, it was a very hard, monkey on his back. And I was very disappointed. He always had a place to call. And I know that particular situation, so many stories that I've heard about it, but he, when there were times when he really didn't, he'd call and we'd get him and try and, help him out. But,
well, you were one of many. My mom was there. I know she would spend hours on the phone. Bobby wouldn't stay on the phone for a couple minutes, for hours. And sometimes he was sober, sometimes he was drunk in a different state. But I know my mom was there for him. She would take a lot of those calls, and I'm sure you did too. I think at some point when you're in that state, though, it's like no matter who's around you, no matter who loves you, you have to make that decision on your own.
Right.
Right?
And, so, I don't know, you always hope that this last time that you do something with him will be the last time that, you have to worry about him. But, he was always good at hooking up. He was the reason I signed Brown Boy.
Yeah.
He was the reason that got connected with Greenside. And even then, Tony and Andy Herrera wanted me to work with, but you guys were hell-bent against that. And, Tony spent a lot of money, on you guys trying to, prop you up and really, take advantage of stuff. And Bobby was a yes, and then you were no. So then Bobby became a no instead of really, debating things out. And so you guys are one of those groups that can honestly say that, you went from nothing to having a very, very successful career, and having chart singles and videos and everything. A lot of groups don't have that.
Right.
But I was mentioning earlier, I feel that the group, as far as I'm concerned, I hit playing baseball. I hit the ball, it got me to second base, and I want to get to third base. To home. And I still think with anything that we can work out, you guys have that choice to get there. We got to still get your gold records. We got to get you the Hollywood Walk of Fame star. There's a lot of stuff that
Ooh, Cliff don't start working, man. He still wanted. We got all these years later, man, and we still got a gold record sitting there, but he wants to get it certified. So that's what I plan to do, bro. And I'm glad that we reconnected. And there's a reason why we did that. I thank you for coming to the platform, the Blockout, man, and welcoming you here. It's been so many years, and I feel a sense of, I think there's a reason why we've come around again, and I'm willing to see what the future holds for us, man. So let's make that happen, man.
Definitely.
All right.
Hey,
Cliff Richie Jr., man. Thank you, guys. Oh, that's one of the dopest podcasts ever. This is the man, creator of Lighter Shade of Brown, founder of many, many other acts that have went on to do other things. And we want to thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys tag somebody on this. Make sure you share this everywhere, whatever platform it's on. Give us a big like. And thank you for, once again, watching on the Blockout Podcast.
Stay tuned.
Man. Danny, take us out, brother, man.
Let's get it. Like you said, man, subscribe. Tell your mama, tell your papi, whatever. Let them know the Blockout Podcast is coming to a city near you.